Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited for the film to come out for everybody to see it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So, can you talk a little bit about what the decision was like to feature a brand new song with "This Was Me" in the film that wasn't in the stage production?
It felt essential for me to tell that story. Um, it's a story of my generation, and I also want to make sure that that story of my generation was passed on to Jamie's generation, essentially, and then hopefully that goes out into the world. Richard's character, Hugo, this young 16-year-old boy comes into his shop and says, I want to be a drag queen, and he has been a fierce drag queen back in the day, his character, and so and all Jamie's really got to offer him is Sandra Banana, I'm going to be called. That's as much as he's kind of really thought about it, because really he sees it as a sense of showing off, being, he's not really thought it through. And I think Hugo says, if you're going to do this, you need to know what it's based on, where it's coming from, and he shows him what it was like back in the day for him to be a drag queen, and back in the 80s, it was a complex time. I walked on those marches. There was a law passed in Britain called Section 28, in which it was criminalized to promote homosexuality, and so not only was that community marginalized, they had no voice at all then. A similar law's just been passed in Hungary, and so the story keeps going on. So I wanted to make sure that story, that generational story, is passed on. And Dan Gillespie Sells and Tom McRae wrote the most amazing song, and also it's performed by Holly Johnson, so when we step back into that time, we step back into the sounds of that time, Holly being Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and all that implies of what I used to dance to when I was in the clubs. That's what I'd be, there. And Holly himself has his own story, very specific. So it was really important for me to add that to the film.
So now for Max and Lauren, I want to hear, what was the experience like for this being your first feature film and making your debut film appearance in this movie?
It was daunting in many ways, but I couldn't have asked for a better creative team and production team to be at the helm of this one to guide me through it. I'm so grateful. And I just had the best time of my life doing it.
Yeah, it was so many people's first films or first musicals or first films of this scale, and so it all felt like we were figuring it out together, and we felt, I can't speak for Max, but I'm sure he agrees, that we just felt so supported through the entire process, and they gave us absolutely everything we needed.
So not only was it your first film, but there's also singing involved. So what was it like to take all that on at once?
It was intense. I haven't acted, sung, or danced professionally ever, and I haven't danced really ever at all.
And you had to do it all in your first job.
I had to do it all in my very first job with about a month's notice from when I got the job to when we started shooting. So that was quite intense, but it was just it was like, okay, this is your kind of shot. You got to give it absolutely everything you've got,
I love singing so much, and I love the music, and Dan Gillespie Sells and Tom McRae, who wrote the soundtrack for this film, are so brilliant, and the songs were like little gifts, and I'm so glad I got to be part of this amazing soundtrack, which is coming out on the 10th of September, and you can pre-save it now as well. The soundtrack's featuring Holly Johnson and Shaka Khan and Todrick Hall and Beverly Knight and Sophie Ellis Bextor, all of such an amazing people to be a part of the album with. So I mean, it was such an amazing experience for me to get to sing and dance and do all of that crazy creative stuff with this as well.
So now I want to know a little bit about your taste in music. So what are some songs, some albums, and some artists that you've been loving lately?
I've been listening back to Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, and I've been listening to Brandi Carlile. I've been throwing it back to those old albums. Newer albums, I don't really know, and Have you been listening to anyone new or?
I mean, I'm always listening to some form of Harry Styles or Taylor Swift in general. But I think Pony by Rex Orange County and Hosier's album Hosier is like some of my favorite albums of all time.
Well, thank you for talking to me. They told me I was your last interview today, so I hope that it was good.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
great.
great. Thank you so much.
Gorgeous to meet you.
Well, it was great to talk to y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.